Before we begin, I just want to call out that Eddie was having some technical difficulties with his mic, and you are going to hear an audio difference about halfway through. His mic gets a little bit better, so please be aware that that's going to happen. But anyways, let's get on with this week's episode.
You are listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since first grade, now dads reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm the other host, JB Wagner. And on today's episode, we're going to take a bite out of Disney's adaptation of the literary classic White Fang. But first, Eddie, how are the kids?
We are in that season of you have your good days and you have your bad days.
Yeah.
Where it was crazy. Like Sunday night, kids went to bed. We got our first 8-hour stretch of sleep out of Ellie, which is like a big accomplishment for a 4-month-old. So it was like we woke up this morning feeling good. This is great. And then bedtime tonight was awful. Just
of course.
hysteria. And what was so funny is we're trying to establish a bedtime routine for Lewis. So
of course, yeah.
We go pee in the potty, we brush our teeth, we read books. It's like that. Da, 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 da. So once he goes to bed, he doesn't want to go to bed, and it dawns on him. I don't go to bed right after brushing my teeth. There's other things to do. So he insists on brushing his teeth.
Again and again.
And again and again and again. And in a moment of weakness and parental weakness, we gave him his toothbrush. And I took a picture of it because it was just so funny. It's him sitting in his bed, holding his toothbrush, going, and he's bawling his eyes out, trying to brush his teeth while he's crying. And he's just like,
It's the saddest teeth brushing you'll ever see.
It's saddest. And then, but he's so tired. And right. And as a parent, it's like, well, you need to go to bed, bud. Like that's what you need right now. And so he's crying, brushing his teeth. And then he'll go, like a really big yawn. And he's still trying to brush his teeth, cry, and yawn all at the same time.
Oh, that is so goodness. Sweet and precious. And probably incredibly hard not to laugh.
And I'm a millennial dad. I'm whipping out my phone and I'm like, video, we're going to take pictures. This is too funny. Yeah. And of course, sending out to the whole family, brushing your teeth when you don't want to go to bed.
Exactly.
Oh, man. So at least at the end of the day, hopefully he won't have cavities.
There's always
That's the silver lining.
The silver lining on being a parent with a toddler. I was trying to figure out a funny segue to then go into 1991, but we were toddlers at this time in 1991.
This is true.
We have entered a new year. So on our quest to go from 1988 through 2005, all the Disney movies we grew up with. So now that we're in a new year, 1991, we wanted to update you on what was happening, remind you, take you down memory lane. So 1991. Well, first of all, there's 5 Disney movies in 1991. We've had we've had single movie years, and this is not one of them. I don't know that we're gonna have another single movie year like we've had. It's gonna be nonstop. 5 different movies we're gonna be covering just for 91.
And this really kind of marks, you see this exponential growth in just Disney's production schedule. You can see it on our movie list on our website where we've kind of all listed out there.
HoneyWeMade.com/movies.
There you go.
Plug.
You go and you see it. And you see each year after 91, the amount of movies just per year grows. And we're only looking at movies that actually carried the Disney name, right? They had other Touchstone and other, Hollywood Pictures. They own these studios, but they never carry the Disney name. So they really started to pick it up in the 90s where they're just making tons of different movies. And you see that, it worked. It brought in a lot of cash. So did we also World Events 1991. This is one of those events, I think everybody kind of has those moments where they can remember something big happening in the world. And for me, like I distinctly remember when the Persian Gulf War
Interesting.
started.
I had zero recollection at 4 years old. What was happening in your house?
Well, it was so what's interesting is the Persian Gulf War is one of like the first like live televised wars.
Yes.
Like Vietnam was one of the first actually televised where there's live images coming, not live images, but images coming back.
Recorded.
And
Yep.
people are, recorded images. Thank you. But Persian Gulf is interesting because they had reporters like reporting live from Kuwait, and you could see the troops going out. I remember watching bombs land on Baghdad live, and it was like literally it was live on television. This is, I
think my family hid that from me.
I just
I'm going to
remember
I'm going to have to have a conversation with Ed.
My parents were, amazed that this is happening, and I can distinctly remember it so much of. Yeah, it was just a whole new thing for people, and people struggled with it too, right? It's like, oh my goodness, we've never, the world will never be the same.
Yes.
Well, we've heard that a couple of other times.
And to give clarification, this is something that we actually missed in our 1990 recap. That the Persian Gulf started in 1990 and it ended in 91. Yes. So this is going to be a recurring thing. We forgot about the Game Boy in 1989. This is our bit what did we miss? Yeah, if we had a stats person, we could pivot to them and say, "Hey, tell us what we missed on this episode."
Yeah.
So in the world of sports, we have nothing too exciting. The Giants won the Super Bowl. Minnesota Twins won the World Series, but we did have Michael Jordan winning his first title here with the Bulls.
So this is kind of on Disney. Did you watch The Last Dance?
I did watch The Last Dance. I guess ABC, Netflix partnership, ESPN. Did you actually watch it?
No, you know me.
I was like, wait a minute, hold up. I know you are a thespian of
everybody's
NBA.
coming. Oh, Eddie, did you watch The Last Dance? I'm like, no, I didn't watch this.
You do enjoy going to basketball game. I've taken you to many a Pacers game.
Yes, and I do enjoy going. That's more for the fan.
You love the drum lines. You love the sections with the chanting. So you love it when we're close to all the chanting sections.
I do like watching live basketball, and a lot of that's growing up in Indiana. And I do love a good sports movie. I mean, we'll cover a few of those here. And I'm sure I would enjoy this documentary just because I like human stories.
You love
general.
You love humans. That's good. That's good.
Humans,
we'd be very scared if you didn't.
I'm shocked though that they released that on Netflix and not Disney Plus or ESPN Plus.
So it was a partnership. I think it had to do with the rights. It was a partnership between Netflix and ESPN. It was tightly controlled by Jordan himself. So that was another, like, obviously if they don't get him, it's not a documentary that's worth it.
Right.
So, but what else was happening in entertainment at that time? Not 2020.
The number one song that came out was "Everything I Do It For You" by Bryan Adams. Love a good Bryan Adams, little angsty music there. New Nirvana comes onto the scene. They released their song "Smells Like Teen Spirit." I've never been a big Nirvana fan. I know that there's some who are fairly dedicated there, but I just could never have gotten in there. The number one movie in 1991 was T2 Judgment Day, which, if memory serves me correct, is the one where like he liquefies and turns into silver.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite out of all of the Terminator movies. I do like that one. Pixar did the computer animation on that, by the way.
Interesting.
Little known fact. It was only the second time that they had a fully CGI created character.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you know what the first one was?
I mean, you're not talking about animated characters like
no, like
Mary Poppins,
CGI.
like back and forth.
Yeah, right. So like computer generated. The first one was in the Adventures of Young Sherlock. There's a stained glass knight who comes off and it's all stained glass. That was the first one.
These are the nuggets you're here for.
I know, useless information. See, this is what I learn when I'm not watching sports all the time.
There is a movie that's going to be coming out that came out in 1991 that we are sure to hit. The number 3 movie of that year was
Beauty and the Beast.
That is coming, people. Get ready.
First animated feature to be nominated for Best Picture.
Incredible.
I may or may not be on my Disney Mount Rushmore. Is that what we called it a few episodes ago? With,
we're going to
Rescuers?
come up with a good nickname for that.
You're going to have to come share this next one because I don't know Jeffrey.
As always, we've got a random things that don't really fit in necessary category. One of which is the web browser that was invented this year. I think we said the World Wide Web was in the year before. So we've got the web browser you can get on www. But then Jeffrey Dahmer is captured this year. He was a nice individual who I think did a lot of bad things. And we were very glad that we caught him. So there's a shout out to my wife.
Bad things that we don't share on a Disney podcast.
We always have to have one random thing. We had crack cocaine in the 80s and we have Jeffrey Dahmer in 1991. There just wasn't a ton that happened that year. I'm sorry. I was pulling for anything other than the Persian Gulf War ending. But let's do a hard right turn. These next couple movies we're going to be doing are deep cuts. If you are a Disney fan, these are some deep, and I mean really deep cuts for some of the movies that we're going to be talking about in the next several episodes. But we're going to have fun with it. We're going to enjoy it. I've got some great research that I've done. I know you always have some great nuggets, Eddie, that blow my mind. So today, let's pivot. Let's go into what this episode is all about, which is the movie White Fang.
Cue the Disney-ish sound effect.
Okay, let's read IMDb's pros for their piece on this movie, White Fang. Jack London's classic adventure story about the friendship developed between a Yukon gold hunter and the mixed dog wolf he rescues from the hands of a man who mistreats him. Probably needed to do some grammar on this because we don't know who he mistreated. Was it the boy? Was it the dog? Anyways, that's here nor there. Eddie.
Sherry would be so proud of you right
Yes. I'm not as great with words as you can hear from just listening to me talk for a little bit. So this movie, Eddie, had you seen this movie before we did this experiment?
So I thought for sure that I had because...
And I'm shocked because I this is a dog movie. You should have seen
Exactly. I just assumed.
You need to return your animal lover card for not seeing this.
As I'm watching this, I'm like, I have zero recollection of this. So much so that I even called my sister and asked her, like, did we ever watch White Fang as kids
what did she say?
Up? And she's like, no, I don't remember us watching that at all. And she's like, and then she goes, because I said, hey, so I'm watching White Fang and I can't remember if we ever watched it as kids. She's like, I'm watching White Fang, like you're watching White Fang all by yourself.
On purpose.
Exactly. And I was like, I'm doing it for our podcast. And she's like, and she was, well, tell JB I said hi.
Oh, okay.
So hi. But no, neither of us ever remember watching this as a kid, which is remarkable. We're going to get to another movie here in a few episodes.
Years. I mean, it is going to take a while.
It is going to take a while, but a few episodes where there's another movie of similar content called Iron Will, which was on repeat in my family's house. So I think we watched that one so much that I just assumed we had watched White Fang.
Yeah.
But we hadn't. So it was like, this is great. I didn't know this. So Sarah did watch a little bit of it with me as well, but she gets up a lot more to feed Ellie in the middle of the night, so she falls asleep whenever we sit down and watch movies. So she's like, I think I read the book. I don't know if I've seen the movie.
So neither of us had any specific memories from our own childhood for this one. So this is our first one where we're coming at this fresh many years later. many years later.
I'm familiar with the source content, right? So, I mean, I don't think you can get through a literary education, even at a high school level in America, without at least a reference to Jack London, a reference to, you know, kind of the nature adventurism that, you know, it's a kind of a unique genre that he's definitely kind of a primary voice in American literature with. So he wrote not only White Fang, but he also wrote The Call of the Wild, which Disney-ish kind of came out with their version of this year. It was Fox Studios who did it, and it was released like right after Disney had bought Fox. So did you see the trailer? This is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but did you see any of the trailers for The Call of the Wild?
I don't know if I have.
So it stars Harrison Ford as a grumpy old man.
So that's what I got mixed up with. I got it mixed up.
They're both Jack London novels, right? So White Fang, and then the second being The Call of the Wild. The stark difference is in White Fang, they actually used dogs. In Call of the Wild, they did all CGI dogs, and it's obvious. It's obvious.
Oh no.
There's just no.
Oh no.
Like, it's just like you should have just hand-drawn cartoon animated this dog, because it probably would have come across better.
So before I watched it, I was thinking, oh, the White Fang, I think that's the adaptation that they did with Harrison Ford. And so the whole time going into it, I'm like, oh, I'll have to go back and see it. And then I tried to go look up recent 2019 or 2020 Harrison Ford. I'm like, it's not anywhere in here. It's nowhere. Like, what happened? And the only thing I could find was a 2018 animated adaptation of Call of the Wild, of White Fang.
White Fang. Yeah,
but it was actually a Netflix animated film. And when I saw the trailer for that, I was like, that seems like a kind of different movie than what I just watched with White Fang. But it's because the actual story of White Fang is actually kind of different than this specific adaptation of it. The character, which is Ethan Hawke's character in the film, the boy, he's actually not in the actual literal story. He's an amalgamation of a bunch of different characters, which is pretty common in a film adaptation. It's just, we don't have time for all of these people. And because you spend so much time in the book with the dog, and that's kind of hard on screen to spend that much time unless they're talking dogs, which they didn't go that route for this. I understood their choice in finding some character that you could kind of identify with and do that. I know Dumbo was a recent movie that they just did that with. They added a ton of characters around the kids taking care of Dumbo to help you kind of like be intimately connected with the storyline more than, unless you're a dog lover like you are, Eddie, which is like all you need is a little puppy right there.
This is what the movie kind of had such a mixed reception, because it was such a departure from the book. Like, the spirit of the book.
Did you find some forums where people are still mad about it?
Still is a strong word, but definitely some residual resentment. No, you see, like, a book adaptation is so difficult to do, especially one that is centered around an animal as your central character. But it's interesting because when you watch the movie, you would assume it's all about Ethan Hawke's character, Jack.
They do spend quite a bit of time up in the front with the dog. And in fact, there was definitely some moments where I was like, have we gone from the movie to a nature documentary. I'm waiting for them to go, the wolf in its natural
David
habitat. Although one moment when I was thinking, it's like, now would be a perfect time for them to have like melting ice, and then we transition into now we're in spring, and that happened. And I just started laughing.
The white gray wolf is the apex predator of the Northwest Territories of Canada.
But so what I appreciated in looking up some of this stuff is, one, it's pretty obvious they used actual animals for this. And in fact, the bear attack, which definitely got me pretty emotional.
Feels so real.
And the reason it feels so real, it was actually Ethan Hawke in the scene with the bear. They're holding the bear's little toy or something that it loves over on one side. So if you watch
the bear's little toy,
the trained bear has a little toy, and Ethan Hawke is running one way on the camera, and the bear kind of is running, but if you look, he kind of looks a little awkward. He's actually running the similar but a different direction at the same time, but it looks like he's running right after him. But that was a real bear that they used in there, and obviously the wolves are all real. Those were not on the same set. It said that some of the research I'd done, they did not have them occupying the same set. It was like a very limited crew. But that was definitely something I was thinking as I was going through. I was like, okay, are we now on the nature documentary? Okay, now we're back into the feature film. Okay.
This was one of the first movies I can ever think of that opens with a Humane Society warning.
Oh, it was intense. I think I stopped it for scenes of peril were simulated and not real.
Yes. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to lead with this. Usually it's like at the bottom of the credits, like no animals were harmed in the production of this film. No, like we're going to put it right at the front.
Ethan Hawke in this. How did you feel about Ethan Hawke in this? This is his first leading role in a film, and he was previously in Dead Poets Society. So he's got some name recognition. Did you like Ethan Hawke in this film? Were you clinging to him talking about his dead parents?
I do like Ethan Hawke. Like Boyhood is one of my more favorite kind of art house films. And I don't know if you've seen that with him, the one that they film over the course of like 12 years. 12 years. Yeah. I find him to be a very real, authentic actor. Like you do just connect and resonate. But this one, not at all. I thought there were so many. He's got
a clean shaven, plucky, ready to storm through the mountains, but he's great in
Dead Poets. Is Dead Poets? It is before this.
Yes.
He was. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, I struggled at times. The constant handing out of chewing gum.
Oh, the chewing gum. Everybody, you want chewing gum? You want chewing gum?
Chewing gum?
When are you going to run? You can't have infinite supply of chewing gum.
I know. Well, and hey, boy, your breath smells good. Do you have any chewing gum?
Yeah. I felt overall, immediately from the opening crawl or shots going in, whereas Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, obviously, it's heavily emotionally weighted for me because I love that film growing up. I watched it a ton. This one felt like we were progressing all the way to Little Mermaid. This felt like a step backwards in the sense of it felt dated. It felt old. Now it's a period piece in the 1800s, but at the same time, it felt older. It felt slower. It felt like they kind of not took a step back technologically, but just took a step back from the rest of these films that we had been already previewing. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of still had that pacing of an older film,
60s, 70s kind of.
Yeah. Where just kind of, and I don't know how much of that was actual kind of old film pacing, or if it was trying to kind of take the sense and the feel of the novel, you know, which is a little more descriptive and, takes its time. So I don't know how much of that it pulls from that. But at the same time, there are some pretty intense action sequences. And I'll have to tell you, I think one of my favorite scene from the movie that may go in as one of my favorite scenes now of any Disney live action movie is when the casket falls off the side of the hill and you see the corpse that is now blue, bright blue.
And what is it holding? Is it holding its own?
He's holding a dog.
He's holding a dog. I couldn't tell if he was holding a dog or he had strangled the bear, the white polar bear that had killed him. I couldn't tell the difference. And it's just sliding across the glass. And it's just out there.
No, first he's going head over heels.
It tumbles through
down the hill. And he's clutching the dog the whole time. And the dog's like baring its teeth. Like it just, I know.
And then they actually do. It falls through the water with Ethan Hawke into the rescue.
Ethan Hawke goes down first, and then he plugs the hole.
And then it plugs the hole, and he can't get out. So they get him out, and then he gets him all safe, gets him all warm. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna go get him, and the guy goes back to go retrieve him out of the. It was ridiculous.
Out of the water.
It was
puts
definitely
him back in the. Oh, and then I think so. I don't know if it was meant to be that comical, but I am laughing my face off that whole scene. And then we finally get to his cabin or whatever, Dutch, we get to Dutch and he's like, what's one of your favorite memories from Dutch? Do you want to say a few words? And he's like, oh no, I hated the man. Look.
All this effort to get Dutch back to his home.
And, he's like, well, but I gave him my word.
Better times, great. Eddie. Better times when we lived by our words in the 1800s and helped Blue Dutch get to his homeland.
I have to go back and rewatch that because I was laughing so hard. Honestly, I think it might go down as one of my new favorite Disney movie sequences. Blue Dutch. Head over heels, going down that, and then sliding.
That's great.
Oh my goodness.
So
needless to say, I did not watch this with my kids.
You did not. I let Buddy watch the first part of it. I tried to point out the dog as much as possible, and he was picking up on the emotion of when White Fang's mom dies, when some of the dogs, when they're fighting, he was like, oh no. And he was really into that part, but I think he went to bed somewhere in the middle at the end of the first act. So he didn't get to see some of the things. I think he saw some of the wolf attacks and things like that, which they tastefully, you could only hear the guy dying in the back in the background.
How totally random was that? Where he's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna run off into the woods and fight off the wolves all on my own."
It was that was dumb.
Yeah,
I think this is a great time for us to bring up the ending text on screen. That one shattered my whole view of not only this story but every other story that I've ever heard of, or watched, or paid money to see, especially like The Gray with Liam Neeson. This little nugget that comes on at the very end of the movie. You've seen these wolf attacks and everything like that. This comes up on screen. There has never been a documented case of a healthy wolf or pack of wolves attacking a human in North America. Because wolves were systematically eliminated throughout most of the United States during our early history and continue to be persecuted today, a nationwide effort is underway to reintroduce wolves into the wilderness areas and ensure the survival for their generations. There's never been a documented case of a wolf or it's like telling me that there's never been a shark attack. And now we have to remove...
At the end of Jaws. It's like you just finished Jaws.
There's never been a documented wolf attack in ever. And we have countless movies with that as a story plot. It's like saying there's no gravity. It's like all of a sudden there's no gravity. I was so mad.
You know that you know who I could think of during all this?
Who?
Pluie, the wolf that needs his own wolf highway across North America.
From the West Wing?
Yes, of course. There's a West Wing reference here.
We got to have at least one in everyone. I don't know about you, but I was so mad. I was like, what did I... this movie isn't...
It's totally
not even,
made up.
It's not even...
Wolves do not act like that.
There's no case
Totally made up.
of a healthy wolf attack. This is incredible, and I feel lied to on so many levels. It was my blood was boiling reading this thing. I paused it and I had to sit there and dictate every last thing. I was like, let me stop this. And I was like typing all this because I have to read this for our viewers. Let me just tell you, it's not a real thing. There's never... It's like, it's worse than a ghost story because we kind of feel, oh, it's funny, it's a ghost story, whatever. This is not real. Wolves do not systematically hunt people down and kill them. It's not a thing.
No, like what they were, like half the movie is totally fabricated and made up. It has not based in reality. If you want a good taste of reality, there's a helpful documentary, I think it's still on Netflix, called Wolves of Yellowstone.
Oh.
Fascinating look of when they reintroduced wolves to North America, and they started in Yellowstone, and the direct impact on the ecosystem, like rivers that had dried up started to flow again because wolves were reintroduced, and they like track like what are all the different impacts on the ecosystem that wolves bring, and how it's like they're one of the most healthy animals to have in the life cycle.
That's funny. Another thing, random thing that fun to give you guys up. Another thing that in this movie is not real is some of the snow isn't really real because they had to ship in snow from Canada for some of the scenes because it was unusually hot for that
in Alaska.
In Alaska when they were filming this. Also, there's some. I'll put this in the show notes, but there's some cool behind the scenes of the city of Haines, Alaska, that they have a memorial museum for. In the town because the production pumped $2.5 million into the town to film all of this stuff at. So we'll put that in.
That's really cool.
The show notes as well. Eddie, so how are we gonna rate this? I don't even know if we didn't even really get to parenting perspective at all because we mostly just stayed on this.
And I feel like instead of fruit snacks, we should do sticks of chewing gum.
Yeah, how many sticks of chewing gum are you giving this thing?
I'm gonna give it 1.
I'm gonna take my chewing gum and go home. I'm not gonna play this game because I was so distraught by that ending credit. You're not even getting 1 stick of chewing gum.
You're gonna chew the chewing gum and like stick it under their chair and be like, "Ha!"
I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna prank them with their own chewing gum.
So we get a little bit of a taste of what this movie how it would be different in 2020. Not just with the Call of the Wild, they would CGI all the dogs. But did you see the Disney Plus original Togo with Willem Dafoe?
Is it a live action dog movie?
Yes.
Yeah, then I didn't. Sorry, it's like that in Westerns. I just immediately just say, nope, pass, hard pass.
And I'm the opposite where I'm like, ooh.
How are we even friends, Eddie?
So have you heard the story of Balto? Have you ever heard the dog Balto?
Yeah.
So long story short is there was this sled dog run in Alaska. I can't remember the year. That they run and get medicine. And
I've watched that.
The dogs bring the medicine back.
That's an animated film, right? Is that a Disney one? Is that going to be on our list?
No. Balto is not.
Okay.
I can't remember who did that animated film, but it was teams of dogs that did it. And the majority of the run was actually done by one man and his team of dogs. His lead dog was Togo. But the last 3 hours of the whole epic thing was done by some random guy, and his lead dog was named Balto. And a guy got it wrong, and he wrote this newspaper story saying, Balto saves the day when really Balto only ran like 3 hours of it. And this other dog was actually the one who saved
So many
the
lies in Alaska and with these dogs. But
Togo is the true story. They set the record straight with Togo, and Willem Dafoe saves the day in bringing the vaccine to this remote Alaskan town. So that's how it would have been done in 2020.
Nice. And if you want to know more about this dog that was used as a part of White Fang, you can learn more about Jed, the dog, on IMDb, because he's in several other feature films, and you can see
what else is he in.
Let me just click on it real quick. He is in several other films. I think he is in. He's got a fan club here. Filmography. He's in White Fang too, but he's in The Thing. He's in The Journey of Natigan, and he's in Dead Kennedys, The Early Years.
Wow.
But he has an IMDb. The Thing is a big one to have that on here.
Yeah.
But he has his own IMDb. He's the first credited actor on IMDb for this movie.
What?
So it's so ridiculous. Anyway, so moving on. Is there any unintended morals of this story?
Like, I think some people might think like the Alaskan wilderness, if some random teenage boy can make it and do just fine, so can I. And I just want to be like, no, it's dangerous. Like, most people do die there if they just show up with nothing but chewing gum.
Exactly. I forgot there was one good. We're always looking for these good parenting moments inside of here. A good little emotional nugget. I did find one, and I wrote it. Okay. I wrote it. More talking. I wrote it down. It's Jack talking to Alex outside the hut or the cabin. He says, I always talking about his dad who had lived in the hut. I can stop saying hut. Living inside the cabin. He said, I always thought he was a hero. Our mother would tell us stories of where he was, never knew what was true. He said he wanted to give us a better life. All we wanted was for him to stay. So talking about his dad going off into the mountains to go search for gold and to bring back this fortune. And he gets there, he gets to his dad's place, and all he can think about is how he wishes he would have been around with his dad. So that's what I can say. The unintended moral of the story is go follow in your dad's footsteps as he went and left his family all alone, because you will end up getting rich because of it. Right. That's the unintended moral consequence of this story.
I think that, though, leads well into a good dad tip, like on a serious note, like presence is always better than presence, right?
Ooh,
like,
that'll tweet.
That'll tweet.
Presence is better than presence.
And that just kind of shows that side of that very well of, yeah, he doesn't really. Now, at the end, he, does run off with gold and great, but I think he would have just rather have had his dad.
My dad tip is if you paid or don't pay for any type of survival gear that has to do with fending yourself off from wolves, because they will not attack you. It's not real.
Yeah, you don't need it.
That's my dad tip.
Just spend that money on more chewing gum.
More chewing gum. So that is it for today's episode of Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Eddie, what is the question we're going to ask our followers, subscribers to answer on our website? What's the poll question we want to go with today?
In your survival bag, what flavor of chewing gum would you bring?
That's deep.
Mint, juicy fruit, or double bubble. So go to our website, honeywemade.com/listener, where you can answer our different poll questions, and you can let us know what flavor of chewing gum would you bring with you into the Alaskan wilderness to survive off of. Mint, juicy fruit, or double bubble. You'll notice a serious omission. I'm not including Big Red because cinnamon chewing gum is just disgusting.
Blah.
Like,
No.
come on, people. No, it's not chewing gum. Okay, so no Big Red here. We are going with the standards: mint, juicy fruit, or double bubble. You let us know at honeywemade.com/listener.
So thank you for listening. Please subscribe, follow us. Go to honeywemade.com/movies to see our full list of all the movies we'll be doing. We'll be updating that as we go. But our next film that we've got is another deep cut. It is Shipwrecked. So gear up for that. Some other dad joke in here about ships and naval things. But Eddie, you said you had a pre-existing thing you had to do. You had to run off for.
I need to go brush my own teeth.
You need to brush your own teeth, and I have to go get out the word about wolves, and they don't attack people.
Wolves are safe.
Wolves
Pluie is our friend.
Pluie is our friend. Thanks for listening.